Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World, and you saw today that there was this really interesting story on the route, and it's been going around for a few days about Steve Perry and this issue with hair. You know, Steve, a brother I respect tremendously, had made a statement about brothers cutting off their dreadlocks and braids, and I'll get to quote exactly in a minute. And I just really thought I would talk to some people who could help provide insights on this. So one person I thought about was Ms. Zaza Ali, who is on the line to help us talk about this. How you doing today, Zaza?
I'm doing great. Peace King, how are you?
I'm doing really well, really well. And I'm hoping you can help me get some understanding on this. Steve is a friend of mine, and we don't agree on every point, but we see pretty much eye to eye on a lot of things, and I like the guy, so when I saw his quote about the hair, I was kind of taken aback, and what he talked about was basically on Twitter. He had basically almost like a celebration of the fact that he watched 150 young black men cut off their dreads, cut off their
200.
200. There you go. Thank you. Cut off their dreads and their braids, and he felt that was indicative of expected success. That Steve Harvey and he had inspired them to understand that the way you look is connected to your quote unquote success. What did you think about this when you saw this?
Well, first, let me say peace to all of the people who will come across this video. Thank you for sharing this moment with us. I also want to say I'm going to be in Oakland this Saturday, June 18th, with Sister. I'm getting an echo now. What did you just do?
Oh, you know what? I hit a button. Are you able to hear me?
Okay.
Is the echo going away?
No, it went away.
Okay, good.
I'm going to be in Oakland this Saturday, June 18th, with Sister. I'm going to be in Atlanta, June 30th, and I'm going to be in Jacksonville, June 16th and June 17th, and I will be in Los Angeles, June 23rd and 24th. If you want any information on that, you can go to my website, zazaali.com, and go to the events page. I also want to say a special condolence, send my condolences to the family of a young sister. Her name is Reginae. Her last name is Jefferson, I believe, but don't quote me on that. I should know. A 16-year-old black girl was murdered in Oakland yesterday. She was at a event, a memorial for another young person that had died from drowning, and some boys were next to them, and they were shooting dice. And I guess there's some kind of argument broke out between them. Somebody went and got a gun and came back. And this young, beautiful, beautiful sister ended up being shot and killed. So I want to send my condolences to her family as well as to all of her loved ones. And just to keep it at the forefront of our minds that, our young people are living in war zones. And we have to be mindful about what they're dealing with in the streets. But to your question, I thought it was really interesting that Steve Perry, who is doing an astounding work on behalf of our people, I am very proud of what he has done for black youth. The comment that he made, and he directed it towards Steve Harvey as well as the U.S. Army. And I was thinking, why did he tag the U.S. Army in the quote? I'm thinking perhaps they are sponsors for the event that Steve Harvey has. But, how we could be so successfully, so progressive right now as far as the different business endeavors, like Steve Harvey, for instance, you hear him talk a lot about being this empire and his branding and having all of this success. And then at the same time, you are running programs that are teaching our young people that wearing hairstyles that are culturally relevant, somehow will get you, move you forward, which of course we know we're talking about the system of racism, white supremacy. And anytime you talk about being in the corporate world or going out and getting a job, you are talking about making white people comfortable so that they will accept and embrace you. And I want to say, for singling out dreadlocks in particular, there is a long stemming history of dreadlocks. And I think that was very disrespectful to the entire Rastafarian community. Which ties back to Haile Selassie and even before that, so because we as a people aren't really in touch and in tune with our culture and with our history, we look at things like braids and like dreadlocks as a somehow a statement of not conforming, or a statement of being rebellious against the system, when actually it's a statement of you being proud to be black. There's a difference between, education and having schools. Say, for instance, we have black schools, black charter schools that have our children dress up in, very preppy type of uniforms, where you have the preppy sweater and the khakis and the loafers and whatnot, very clean shaven haircuts. There's nothing wrong with that. Then you have other schools that are African centered and more culturally alive, that have our children dressed in dashikis and in African prints. And my son went to a school in Atlanta like that last year. So, we have to understand the difference between education and having knowledge of self, and teaching black culture and black pride. And I think that it's important for us to have this dialogue, because what Steve Harvey and Steve Perry are talking about is education. They're talking about going off into the white world and establishing jobs and establishing careers. What an Afrocentric or pro-black education is not only teaching education, but it's also teaching pride in culture and pride in your heritage, and representing, who you are with your hair and with your the different traditions that we have.
Well, what's so interesting to me is that I think sometimes we don't know the difference between education and indoctrination, or the difference between success and assimilation. And what I really see is that, and this is a sign of a systematic racism, where whites control so much of the economic and political system that we mischaracterize success to mean that you have assimilated appropriately into that system and been rewarded for your good behavior. So in a way, it's almost like saying that a lion is more successful if he is trained by the zookeeper and stays in his cage, right? He is going to be well fed. He's going to be, he's going to eat better than the lion who's out in the woods fighting on his own. And so what really I see is something that happens in every culture. You look at the Native Americans, for example, and how they were assimilated. What do? They said, we need to control these people. We're going to pull them out of their communities, put them in our special schools, and we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to reward them for acting like us, dressing like us, speaking like us, behaving like us, and we're going to punish them for wearing ceremonial dress, practicing their old traditions, speaking their old language. And then when they're done, we're going to dress them up like a little white man with brown skin, put them back in their neighborhoods as role models, give them money, give them power, and have people look at them and say, ooh, that's what success looks like. And so we sometimes, not only when people talk about the struggle to obtain success for our community, many of us don't even know what success we don't even know what success is. We look at a Steve Harvey and we say, ooh, he's successful. Well, why is he successful? Well, because the Negro got a show on Family Feud. I mean, for real? Is that what a great black man looks like? I don't know. I'm not gonna say it does. It doesn't. But
It's not. I'll say it.
Please go ahead. You're right. That's one interpretation that some people may have. But you could also say that a woman could claim success if she's the highest paid prostitute on the street. But the woman with virtue can say, I have success because I have found a way to feed myself without degrading myself. Right. So in terms of, this male prostitution that you see, where we're encouraged to go and just sell ourselves to the highest bidder, chop down every piece of who we are so we could be a weak imitation of a white man, basically find ways to wiggle our way through these little systems and act like little pets, of the establishment in order to have money or so-called power. I reject that, and I think that we have to at least make sure that that we can leave it open. We can actually say, okay, Steve Perry, you're successful because you're doing this. Steve Harvey, you're successful. Family Feud, congratulations. We hope you keep your daytime TV show. God bless you. And then the army, the money from the army and all that stuff, that's cool too. But there are other versions of success, like a Muhammad Ali success, not the corporatized commercialized Ali, the real Ali, the 25-year-old who probably would have been kicked out of that class because he wouldn't conform. The Malcolm X success, success versions like that, the success of the defiant, strong black man that says, I'm proud of my dreads, and I will be successful even if I hold on to my culture. To me, that's true strength. I'll let you jump in, Zaza. I don't have much else to say.
Well, you said a lot, and you made a lot of great points. I want to be clear. I think that Steve Harvey, in his own right, is doing good things for our people. I know he has these events where he goes down and it takes a bunch of black boys and does manhood training type of events, and I believe that's where this particularly tweet was came from. So we don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, he does do good in the community. Of course, Steve Perry, we know he's proven that he is a great role model for our sons. And when I said, I wouldn't look at Steve Harvey as a model of success, I say that acknowledging that he is successful as far as his career and as far as his economic gain, taking care of his family and whoever else the extension of who he takes care of covers. But we're at a time right now, everybody's like tiptoeing the line. It's like everybody wants to be neutral, and there's a lot of things that are taking place that really need to be discussed. We want black men who are unapologetically black. We, like Dr. Boyce Watkins, we want brothers who are not working to conform to the making white people feel comfortable, or, setting up bylaws and byproducts and, whatnot because they have sponsorship. Why did you tag the U.S. Army in that tweet? How could you say something about, about cultural affirmations, or, just the fact that you're mentioning that you had black boys cut off their dreadlocks or their braids, and then you tag the United States Army? Like, I have a serious problem with that. And so, there's economic success, then there's spiritual success. There's mental success. There's intellectual success. So just because we honor you for the strides that you've made in your own personal life, like, we are trying to resurrect a mentally and spiritually dead people. So there is a lot that comes with that. Steve Harvey is a comedian. Like, that's, he's a comedian. He's a funny guy, but he's a comedian. So I find it ironic, that you have women now buying books from a comedian telling black women how to think and act like a black man.
And how many divorces has he had? I'm not trying to hate on it, but
no, and it's not even about hate. Like, we're trying to raise the consciousness.
No, and I'm jumping into your point. Like what, tell me about his relationships first. I'm not dogging it. I just would be curious. Second of all, how much training has he had as a relationship therapist? I'm not hating on all that, but I find that to be the most interesting. What is it? It's pimping, right? It's just real good pimping. Like, when you get millions of people to buy a book from you on relationships. Well, and I think our people have an affinity for pimps. Our people have an affinity for pimps, clearly. But See, now you're gonna have people thinking I'm hating on Steve Harvey. But you know what? I'm sorry.
No.
Let me say this. I'll let you jump in. But I'll say that Steve Perry, to set the record straight, that's my boy. I love Steve Perry. If he called me again today on the phone, I would talk to him every time we talk on the phone. We talk for hours. Love this guy. Don't agree with everything, but love him. Steve Harvey, I got an issue, man. When you made that comment saying I don't give a damn about slavery, and you got all these white people in the audience laughing, and you sitting there talking about I don't give a damn about slavery, you owe us an apology. Right. You owe us an apology for that shit. Excuse my French.
He put himself squarely in the coon department. Like, no matter what we can give you credibility for, like, unless you go back and correct that, like, we can never respect you again. Mm-hmm. Ever. How could you, in understanding the ramifications and the seriousness and the severity of what happened to our ancestors, like, how dare you? We don't play around with that type of stuff. So, I don't know, Steve. I've listened to his show before here in the Bay Area. You know, KBLX was they became syndicated, and the Steve Harvey show started playing in the morning. And before it was, you know, a local DJ who everybody loved, and then all of a sudden the Steve Harvey morning show gets syndicated. And so I used to listen to it in the morning, and I was like, you know, it's funny, but there's a lot of crooning and shucking and jiving going on that show. That's like, it's funny sometimes, and then other times it's just like, are you trying to keep our people in the grave with the stupidity? So, you know, you mentioned the Native Americans. The Native Americans, and I talk about this in my book, the thing that the Europeans used to do to the Native Americans, they took great pride in their hair. So because they took so much pride in their hair, the Europeans would cut off their tresses and then parade them in front of their people in order to inflict shame on them. You know, and in my book, I talk about how the very strong reverence that they had and the spiritual connection that they had to their hair. And then I compared and contrasted that to the way that we, as a people, particularly Black women, the concept that we have about hair, how it's only about looking good, opposed to there being a spiritual and mental connection, you know, to the cosmos. And that's another show. But, you know, the other thing I wanted to say is that, you know, we as Black people in America, like the global impact that our style and our culture and our hair, the way we dress, you know, the quote unquote swag, the way we maneuver, our demeanor, you know, from the style of the brothers on the block out here in Oakland to Harlem, like we talked about before, to Compton, to, I mean, you know, you have rappers and hip hop artists who have set cultural trends all around the world. From Africa to Europe to Jamaica to Japan, you know, everybody is following our customs and our styles. How can any Black man who is in tune with the times and modern and modern culture be trying to strip that from our children? You know, like Claude Anderson teaches in Powernomics, we are supposed to be taking these different economic platforms and these different economic strong points that we have, like hip hop clothing, like the sports industry, which most of our athletes control, at least as far as their talent, like the Black hair care industry, things that we control as consumers with our buying power. We're supposed to be flipping those models and taking those different dynamics and becoming business owners. So if anything, you should be telling the young brothers that have dreadlocks, okay, we like what you're doing. We want to bring some hairdressers in here and get it clean, make sure, you know, it looks healthy, it looks vibrant, and then we want to have a discussion about hair care products. We want to have a discussion about different ways that you can wear it in order to appeal to the masses. We want to find ways to make these haircuts and, you know, the clippers. How can we start producing clippers? How can we start producing the sheen that the brothers spray on their hair? How can the sisters start producing the shampoo and the conditioner that they're going and buying from Paul Mitchell, or that they're going and buying from Korean and Chinese vendors? This is the mindset of people who are striving to be sovereign and who are striving to be economically free. But when you are trying to get a job, or when you are trying to go and acclimate yourself to a corporation or Walt Disney or Apple or IBM, you have the mindset that first you have to cut your hair and you have to be accepted when you walk in the door. This is the difference between, you know, like the Black Wealth Boot Camp, teaching our people mentally to unchain yourself from this system. First and foremost, you have to mentally unchain yourself from the system. We have sisters who go into corporate America and they go in looking a certain way, and then after they've been there for 4 or 5 years, you can't even recognize them anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So
that's right.
Go ahead.
No. I wasn't going to interrupt. I was going to say that I agree with you. I think that, and not everybody's ready for that, right? Not everybody's prepared to be a soldier, in this fight. You know, some people are afraid. The confidence may not be there. Sometimes, who knows, maybe even the ability's not there. But what I will say though is that what we got to really think about is the danger of allowing white people to tell us what it means to be successful. You see, the white man's always going to tell you that your success is based on how much money you get. Well, when you
Yeah.
base somebody's success by how much money they got, and white people control most of the money, then you're contributing to white supremacy. You're committing yourself to white supremacy, because if you think money makes someone a better person and white people have most of the money, then you're inherently going to conclude that the white man's better than you, right? And that's what happens.
Well,
You ever see that? I mean,
go ahead,
seriously,
I'm sorry.
no,
Never
that's good.
mind.
You ever seen a bunch of corporate Negroes shucking and jiving when the wealthy white man walks in the room? Yes, sir. Ooh,
Absolutely.
That's Mr. Smith. He's so that, and he might be the most degenerate, ignorant, horrific, pathetic person you ever met, but we'll kiss his ass because he got $1 million in the bank. No, you got to let that go. You have to find other dimensions that measure success so that you can level the playing field. If I'm a football player and you're a basketball player, we're not going to measure success on whether or not we can dunk a basketball. Because if I play your game on your court in your way, I'm going to always come out the loser. So I think that what we got to understand is that when you look at a guy like a Steve Harvey, let's say he's successful according to a certain measuring stick. And I guess I'm thinking like a mathematician now, because in mathematics we talked about different measures, what it means to have a measure of something in terms of defining what it is. And so what you see with Steve Harvey is, according to one measure, wealth and fame, right, which white people control a lot of that in America. He's successful. But understand this. Steve Harvey would not have hardly a lick of success if he didn't have white people's help. If he can't be successful without white people. Now he might be okay with just black people, but white people are the ones who put him on Family Feud. They're the ones who give him his movie deals. They're the ones who put him on that daytime show. They're the ones who give him his book deals and all these other things. So ultimately, when you talk about success, we have to have measuring sticks that go outside of whiteness, because look, if I measure success by how close I am to white folks and by how much white people are paying me and how much white people are elevating me, then ultimately I'm not really defining something that could be seen as progress or some sort of upliftment. What I'm really defining my success to be is proximity. Like in order for me to be successful, I just have to get in good with white folks. To get in good with white folks, you got to commit to what white folks believe in. So what do white folks believe in? They believe in white supremacy. So therefore, to be a successful black person, you must believe in white supremacy, and that's not healthy for us. And that's it. So in a way, it's almost like figuring out, like solving your money problem by going deeper in debt. Like the white people used to just hate us because of the color of our skin. They used to deny all of us all opportunity. Now they say to us, look, we'll let you in. We'll let you be one of us. We'll even treat you better than most of us if you just behave like us and commit to our value system and assimilate appropriately. And I just really think that we should encourage each other to stand up against that. And it's not easy, but it's doable.
And like my thing is, like, what is it about white people that makes us like want to be around them like that? I don't understand. Like, Steve Harvey at certain times, he has that kind of shucking and jiving, tap dancing, you know what I mean? Yes, massa type thing going on. And I don't know if that's a part of his comedic role or if that's something that, he uses to kind of gloss over, to blend the different worlds or whatnot. But he has that kind of thing going on. And okay, he has fame and he has success in his world. When is the last time you've seen him made a political statement about anything pertaining to his people? When is the last time that we've seen him made a serious, strong statement about, the reality that is facing our people? And I say that understanding that he is doing things in the background and working, for the greater good of black people as well as all people, I'm assuming. But just, having this clout, having this platform, having all of these different mediums, and you're not using your voice to really talk about the system of racism, white supremacy as a black man, knowing that you are face to face with it all the time, and you're up there with those big wig sharks, so that you have to compromise yourself at one point or another, even if it's just speaking when spoken to, opposed to speaking when you really want to speak. And I know you know about that, Boyce, being in the academic system. But it's like, why is it that I've been around those elitist type white people, the ones with money, the ones who take 3-month vacations every year and have yachts? Like, I've been around that mindset. That energy is demonic. There is a certain air that comes, and I'm not going to say all of them because I haven't been around all of them, but there is an energy and an air and an arrogance that comes with that lifestyle that I just don't want to be a part of. I'm more interested in our people, like you and I talked about, when you talked about in LA, how you didn't even realize how long it had been before you had a meeting with a white person. And you're like, oh, wow, all my meetings have been with black people. You know what I mean? Like, that's happened to me. When I was in Atlanta, like when I would take walks in my neighborhood, I would see all black people with nicely manicured lawns and homes, and everybody speaks and everybody's very nice and cordial. Like, that's heaven to me. So for me, I think, we have to place an emphasis on loving ourselves again, being kind to one another again, because that's who I want to be around, my own people. And you talked about the danger in, that line that Steve Harvey is towing as far as the economic success. There's also a danger in us, and especially Steve Perry being an educator, downplaying the importance of our cultural heritage and the importance of our history, the importance of being black and proud. So I think one of the shows I talked about how we should have, images of black people on our walls. That's where the first concept of standard of beauty comes from. We should see brothers and sisters with locks on the walls. We should see, you see the 42 laws of Ma'at in the background. We should see images and statues of Kemetic great brothers and sisters, people who came from, the Maroons who came out of Jamaica and fought the conquerors and the slaveholders. We should know all of these great, wonderful, fascinating, brothers and sisters who came before us, because that's what establishes your standard of beauty. So then if you take a child like my son, for instance, who has a knowledge of himself, who's always seen black as the standard of beauty, and you put him in a setting with Steve Perry and Steve Harvey and say, okay, we want you to cut your locks, he's going to be like, no. What do you mean cut my locks? What are you trying to do to me? You know what I mean? So we're walking a very dangerous line when we start teaching our children, not just the aspect of, okay, you got to go and, we don't want you to feel like you have to be comfortable about white people, because that's one part of the conversation. It is that, but it's also black pride, the beauty of your hair, and there's a whole science behind that, brother. Your hair is your antennas, the coils of your hair and how they curl, and the connection that you have with the sun, and the sun entering into your hair, which is the first connection that goes into the brain, that goes into the pineal gland. This is where black people get our rhythm at. This is where we get our soul from. We are not just, human beings walking around. Like, no, we are connected to the cosmos. And there is a science behind your hair and our hair being kinky, being curled, versus Europeans having straight hair. And as Dr. Francis Cress Wells talked about, because they don't have that connection to the cosmos, they're operating on a different frequency than us. So when we deal with, why can't Steve Harvey and Steve Perry, when they're talking to young people, teach that lesson?
You know what? What I'll say, generally speaking, is that I think we should look at the dangers of being in any situation where somebody tells you that who you are isn't good enough. Of course,
absolutely.
of course, if you try to assimilate to corporate America, everybody makes some kind of sacrifice, because corporate America in itself is just not a healthy environment. But for black folks, it's especially unhealthy. It's almost like, for white people to get into corporate America, they got to go across the street. For us, we got to go across the country. We really have to change a lot of who we are. And it's very difficult to compete in any scenario where you have to find a way to be just like somebody else. I can't sit, for example, I can't compete with you and say, I'm going to be a better woman than you, Zaza, so let me figure out how to become a woman. It's going to be hard work for me, and at some point I have to kind of say, it's okay for me to be a guy. I'm going to just compete as a man, and, just whatever comes with it, comes with it. And I guess everybody has to find their place in that whole, continuum. And some people could assimilate and don't have any problem with it. But I would just hope that people will just hear from other voices outside of the Steve Perry, Steve Harvey conversation, and realize that
and let me say
who you are is good enough.
Let me say this real quick, brother. white people will respect you more when you stand on your square. They really do. If you know, and it may come to a point where you have to compromise versus stand up for yourself. It may come to that, but a lot of times they'll try you to see if you are that Negro versus if you have a mind of your own. I have a friend who works in corporate America. She works in the pharmaceutical industry. She rocks her twists. She rocks her afro when her hair is short. She's very black. She looks like a real, for real sister. She is a for real sister. But she's dedicated to the work that she does. She's hardworking. She's very motivated. And she's been doing it for a long time. She got her education. You know, she's on point with as far as her business is concerned. But she doesn't have to go out of her way to make white people comfortable. You're going to get to a fork in the road if you work in the corporate, if you work in that environment, or if you work around white people where they may try you. And then if you say, well, you know what, you know, I know my hair may make you feel some kind of way, but you have to understand it makes me feel proud. Mm-hmm. So if you want me to do my best job, you want me to be my best self, you want me to, you know, be number one at sales, you want me to push your agenda, you want me to sell your services, then let me be me. And I assure you that I will be the best person that I can be. But, you know, we have to stop. We get to that fork in the road, and a lot of us go right because we're scared to stand up for ourselves. White people will respect you a lot more if you stand on your square.
That's right. That's right. And I would also, you know, dare to say that, you know, if you're talking about, you know, this whole assimilation package, I think that people just have to understand the dangers of that in terms of just what you're trading off to gain something and what you're gaining in the process. A lot of times what we think we're gaining ends up leaving us with an empty soul. You know, when you've sold every piece of who you are in order to fit in to something else, a lot of times I think that this is why you have an angry black middle class. You have a lot of people that say, wait a minute, I gave up everything. I gave up every piece of who I was to fit into something, and now I'm here and I'm not even happy anymore. You know, and then God forbid, you know, you empty out who you are so that you can commit yourself to this system. And God forbid the system does not accept you, that you get rejected by the system, because then they're not just taking away your job or your stupid fancy title or your little income. They're taking away your identity. And that's pretty much, that's how indoctrination works. It's like, you know, if you think about it, that's what they do in the military too. That's probably why the military was right there when all this went down. What do? They strip away every piece of who you are so they can rebuild you in their image, which therefore gives them power because they then get to control your self-esteem and your self-worth, your self-identity. Very dangerous for black people to do that when you're allowing this power to be held by your oppressor. I mean, that's really sick, and we can't do that with our children. We have to be smarter than that. So, you know, with all due respect to Steve and Steve, you know what? There's a whole lot of ways to be successful, and I say if you got your dreads or whatever you got on your head, keep all that on your head, but then also gain the power to understand that freedom is something that you must earn, and so that freedom to wear your hair how you want is going to come with a consequence. That's another thing I see black folks do when we get in corporate America. We come into the white man's house and expect that the white man's going to let us move the furniture around. That we're going to be able to come in the way I'm going to come in the way I want. You know, my Dr. Boyce Watkins look, my Dr. Boyce Watkins talk, my Dr. Boyce Watkins everything. I think, I'd be a fool to think I could go into the white man's house and have him treat me like he treats another white boy. He's not going to do that. He's going to look at me. He's going to see a certain kind of black man that I'm perceived as a threat, you know, and he's going to eliminate me. And if I'm not strong enough to withstand that, if I've not given myself certain skills to prepare myself for this rejection, then maybe I do need to go ahead and assimilate. Maybe that's the only way I can feed my family. So that's why I think it's very important for our kids to not just have the uniqueness in their swag or whatever you want to call it, in their look, their style, and everything else, but also have a backup plan to prepare you for the backlash so that you can say, you know what, I like my dreads. I'm going to keep my dreads, but I'm just going to start a business because that's the price I got to pay to be free. So and that's one people don't get, is that freedom usually has a price. If you ain't ready to pay the price for freedom, then don't even ask for it. Don't even line up at the counter. So I'll let you get the last word, Miss Ali, please.
Well, I stand by everything you said, and I just want to say, you know, to the brothers and sisters who have taken that that risk and who have started their own businesses and who, stepped out on faith and walked away from jobs or, went to school at night while they worked jobs and then turned around and started their businesses. Like, I honor and appreciate you. We talked about being able to, work from home with your slippers on, like, doing a video, you know what I mean? With you got your pajama pants on or, whatever it is, like being able to believe in yourself enough to turn around and say, okay, this is what I want to do. I have a dream. I have a goal. I know it's not going to be easy. It's probably going to be very difficult. I'm going to have to sacrifice, but to step out there and to stand on your square and to make that jump so that you can be self-sufficient and have your own business. I know what that takes because I've done it, and I've done it 2 or 3 times. I just want to say that I honor and appreciate all of you, and even those of you right now who may be working a job but are taking steps, whether it's the Black Business Boot Camp, whether it's going to school at night, whether it's taking classes on the weekends, whether it's taking online classes. If you are making strides towards being self-sufficient and having your own business, I honor and salute you, because that's what this is all about. We have to, we could talk about cultural affinity and locks and how we dress and whatnot, but the greatest gift that we can give to our children is the knowledge of being self-sufficient and not having to depend on anyone else to take care of you.
That's right. That's right. I mean, if I am fighting for the right to be who I want to be, I need to be prepared to do that. I'm not gonna tell the white man about himself and then show up with my hand out. That's a contradiction. He's not gonna respect me as a man. He's gonna see me as a little boy, So that's it, point blank. So, Miss Ali, I would like for you, if you don't mind, can you please repeat the cities that you are going to and the dates, so everybody has this information, which they can also get at ZazaAli.com, where they can also find out about your book, Black Matters. See, I'm plugging everything. Go ahead.
And I appreciate you for that, brother. I'm going to be in Oakland this Saturday, June 18th, with Sister Dr. Ma'at, and Brother Majai from the Hieroglyphics Rap Group is going to be bringing us in. It's going to be dope. I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to be in Charlotte, North Carolina on June 25th. I will be in Atlanta at Madu Bookstore on June 30th. I will be in Jacksonville, Florida on July 16th and 17th. I will be in Los Angeles at Simply Wholesome Juicy Juice as well on July 23rd and 24th. All of those flyers and dates are on my website, ZazaAli.com. I'm on Instagram at Zaza_Ali78. I'm on Twitter at ZazaAli_7, and I'm on Facebook at Zaza Ali, and you can get links to all of those pages on my website. And if you go to my website, just go to the events page and you'll be able to find all of the flyers for the upcoming events.
All right. Well, I love it. Well, everybody, this is Miss Zaza Ali. Go check out ZazaAli.com so you can get to know all the awesome things that she's doing. And I'm Boyce Watkins, and I don't really have anything to plug, I guess. I know I'm going to throw out a couple of things real quick. We actually have just released our flashcards for children for Black economic empowerment, and they're really cool. They're Afrocentric. They have Black people on them. Have you seen our flashcards, Zaza?
I haven't.
Oh, they're pretty awesome. And people can check them out.
Can I get hooked up?
I will certainly hook you up, sister. Absolutely. And if you go to financialflashcards.com, you can find them there. Also, we are selling the film Hidden Colors, which Zaza and Zaza and I talked about Tariq Nasheed last week, but also she has a lot of respect for for Tariq's film, which I do too, and I'm in it, so it's got to be good, right? I'm playing.
Got to be good, and boy.
You're funny. So it is out now, and we are actually selling it as a bundle pack. It comes actually with a class and e-copies of all my books, or 4 of them actually, and you can check that out at hiddencolorsbundlepack.com. That's hiddencolorsbundlepack.com, and that's it. So we're about to get out of here. So take care, everybody. Until we meet again, stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. We are gone. Peace.